Good evening, boys and girls. Welcome once more. This is Timo from EAV Radio and
Dan from Radio Free Pensacola.
And we have the honor to be sitting with Greg Lee from Hepcat on a boat.
Hiya, folks. I'm on a boat.
Somewhere in the Caribbean. So, first question I've got for you. Sounds a little weird. It comes back to my first interview with some friends of mine. I'm in a local band from Atlanta, but who do you think you are?
You said this was a laid-back interview. It's interesting, man, because people take my persona, stage persona, the way I dress, all different kinds of ways, both positive and negative. But truth of the matter is, Hepcat started with a bunch of guys in basically just out of high school, and our style then was adopted as the style of the band. So, you know, it just is me. It's more me than when I'm not playing with Hepcat. Because now, like, what I would call my normal clothes, I wear mostly with Hepcat. And I wear junk when I'm just walking on the street.
Yeah.
So, who do I think I am? I'm a rude boy. And I'll always be one. Some of the people listening might equate that to being a punk or being anything that is kind of not mainstream and going against the grain. That's us. That's me. That's it.
I like that. And so we're somewhere around like 26 to 30 years.
We'll try 30.
30 you guys have been playing. How do you keep going? I mean, that's a long time.
You know what? That somebody told me a long time ago, if you get tired, take a break, don't quit. And that has also been adopted by the band. You know, instead of like going, you know what, this is done, we're through. Because, 2 months from then, you're going to want to play. So, when people start kind of getting whiny or whatever, we just kind of go to our separate corners of the world and do our thing until the feeling hits us and we come back around.
Are there some things that are easier and some things that are harder nowadays when you're touring or when you're playing than from way back?
No, you know what? Knowing. Ignorance is bliss. Knowing a lot of stuff, knowing a lot of the pitfalls, being able to see them a full, 300 meters before the actual thing happens, kind of sucks. It was nice to have no idea and be oblivious and just, be out having fun. But now it's like, there's no real program to everything. There's no real dictation to how things will go, but there kind of is. There kind of is if you've been doing it long enough, right. And it all becomes kind of like clockwork and almost like a game in a lot of ways. Excuse me.
Well, speaking of the game, do we have any new plays that are coming up? Any new things that we've got on plan?
People have been asking us, and we've been barking at each other to make a new record, and we have, since all the time has passed, since our last, I don't know how long that is, a long time, we have at least 3 albums worth of material, and now, thanks to all the wonderful people out there who bought our re-release records right on time, and out of nowhere, we actually have the funding sitting to do it. It's just now a matter of the people in the band, all getting the planets aligned for them to actually do a thing. Playing shows is relatively easy because the logistical aspect of it falls on other people. So all we really have to do is, okay, we're there at 11, show up at the airport, fly. We really don't have much to do, but when it comes to doing it ourselves, it's a little bit more problematic.
Gotcha. A lot of times with these interviews, I ask people if they would ever do the Salty Dog Cruise or if they would come back because they've been on it before. You have been on it before because I saw you guys in the first year. How would you describe this cruise to somebody who has not been here before?
It's like the early Warped Tour shows where there's all these different types of bands and there's all these different types of kids from all over the place who maybe show up there because they like one hardcore band or one ska band or one whatever band, but they, through the course of the whole thing, they open up to a wider realm of music that is all in the same river of genre in the way I consider it. Like, people always draw lines between punk and ska and all this stuff. They're all born of the same seed. You know, we're all leaves from the same tree. It's all anti this and anti that and anti-establishment, and freedom. Personal freedom is a huge one, which goes to dress. You do what you want, when you want, but you always have respect. You know, you maintain a level of respect for everything around you, but you're able to keep your own without, you know, succumbing to bullies at school, you know, talking about the fact that in some cases, you know, people wearing like plaid stuff to school, or, you know, like you Midwest guys know about that. We don't do that in California. But in California, you know, for example, when I was in high school, my whole crew, maybe 20, 30 of us in my high school, everybody showed up with ties and a pork pie hat and shiny shoes every day with a parka on, even if it was like 112 degrees out, and sunglasses. And we hung really tight with us, and then we also hung with all the punks and the goths and everybody else. We were all kind of misfits of the school in a way, but at the very same time, we weren't. You know, we saw ourselves as the only ones who were actually on the straight and narrow.
I like it.
Yeah.
You're getting really deep, and I really enjoy it, but I'm going to take a right turn here, and I'm going to ask you, for all the time that you have been playing, what's one of the weirdest things, or just the like craziest thing that you've seen at one of your shows, or experienced at one of your shows?
Yeah, there's been too many for me to really hone in on one. Like, you know, if we were sitting here as a band, we kind of talk through memories, and then suddenly like, oh my God, that did happen. It's like you tend to kind of put them to the side in order to do the next thing with a clear mind. Last night was pretty interesting with the guy doing the backwards cannonball into an empty hot tub.
Yeah.
That was painful. It was right in front of me too, and the blood splashed up, and I was like, oh God, geez, man, I get the punk rock thing, but you're hurting yourself, my friend.
Yeah.
You know, there's been a lot of weird stuff. There's one time that I often tell people about. A long time ago, we were playing, when we still played, we did California runs in Fresno and Santa Cruz and San Francisco. And we stopped in Fresno early. Somehow we managed to get there like 2 hours early. So we're just all in the van and kind of sleeping. And I was in the driver's side. And, you know, there came a knock on the window. And I look over, and there's this lady who appears to be in costume to me. She's wearing like a early 1900s nurse's outfit with the stethoscope and everything. And I'm like, okay, all right, you know, whatever, I'll play along. And I roll down the window. It's like, hey, how's it going? She's like, hi, you guys the band? Yeah, we're the band. Oh, that's wonderful. Do you play any blues? Well, no, we're a ska band. We play like, you know, like early Bob Marley and Toots and the Maytals style things before, like pre-reggae. And she's like, oh, but you could play one blues song for me, right? Oh, well, actually, no, like I said, we don't really play blues. We could, but, you know, we'd have to change the set, and the guys would have to get ready for it, and it would be awkward because it would be different from our whole set. And she steps back. Mr. Big Singer Man, you can't sing one fucking song for me. And she starts kicking and broke the glass of the van. And I was like, what the fuck? So I opened the door and kind of push her out of the way. And I was like, I'm out, you know, I'll go sit in the club. So I go around the club, to the front of the club and go in. And like, wow, you're here early. I was like, yeah, there's some crazy lady outside. And like, you can use the back door. And I was like, perfect. So I go out the back door, and I'm right back at the van, and she's gone. And the whole band is like, dude, she took off after you. And I was like, really? Like, yeah, man, I think she was pretty pissed off, you know? So I jump in the van and get in the back and duck down, and I could see them, like, you know, pointing, he went that way. And I guess this lady took off running down the street after me. I've never quite figured that out. We call her the nurse lady.
Yep.
I've never understood what all happened there. It was so surreal. And then when I went in the club later, the guys in the club were like, yeah, this lady broke in here, and she like looked all around. She checked the bathrooms, and then she ran back out the front door. Did she see you? And I was like, I don't know what that was about, man. So that's one.
See,
One.
that's the stories I like.
Yeah.
She was on a mission.
Yeah, well, we had in Fresno, we had the nurse lady and the book lady. And the book lady's a whole other story.
Okay, I need to calm down now. I'm sorry. You got any questions, Dan?
I was just going to say, right before the interview, of course, you had a couple of fans show up to talk to you, and Berlin in 1989 was brought up, and you talked about a gig you played in Berlin, and that had to be pretty soon after the band formed.
Yes.
So that was my first question. Did you find your first successes in Europe?
We did.
Okay.
We learned about ourselves in Europe. In the United States, as is popularly known, I said on the radio, fuck the Midwest, because nobody dances. Yeah, I'm still going to hear about it forever. And they explained to me on the radio that they're not dancing because they don't particularly know how to dance to what you're doing. We'd go with Mustard Plug and Dance Hall Crashers, and everybody went crazy, but then we'd play and they'd be like, but we'd finish the song and be like, yay!
Yeah.
So I didn't get it. So I was just mad they weren't dancing. So we learned about that. Okay, so Alex and I, we need to kind of coax them into dancing, so we started doing little coordinated moves, just off the cuff, nothing planned. We learned that here, and then we went to Europe and learned how to bring the show. Because you play in Europe in the sun, and nobody cares. They're like, a band is playing, this is awesome. Everybody dances, it's great. When it gets cold, you got your work cut out for you. Because they look gray, they look tired, they're just like, please play something good. So you learn to reach out to people in a way that you didn't necessarily know before. Like Europe, both it pats you on the back and kicks you in the ass, and you really learn like where to make songs peak, high points, and things that get to people, how to creatively write a set so it works towards the club, the environment, the vibe, and these are all things I personally do every show. Make sure that like last night after we played, went back to my room. The next day, went back to my room and just thought about how the show went. Thought about what people liked, what they didn't like, or not what they didn't like, but what didn't keep the vibe moving.
Gotcha. And
created tonight's set based on that. And that's all attributable to Europe. Like, we learned so much. Some of us did. Some of us didn't even have to think about it. But the people in the front who have to deal with the crowd and mingle and, keep people interested, we learned a lot.
Well, I can tell you it shows.
Thank you.
Just from the times I've seen it, it's apparent that you have learned a lot and you do it well.
Yeah. Well, it also, too, in Europe, we really... we learned that connection between funk and ska more so than we thought we knew. It was there where Joe Strummer yelled at me when I thought about quitting the band. That's a weird one.
Yeah, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, we'd love that.
Well, here's the great thing about last night, and this is like one of those stories where all the ties that bind, every once in a while they come together, and for me in that moment I realized a history. But otherwise, I put it to the side mentally to keep going on. Long ago, me and Jim from Pennywise, the lead singer, we were on the Warped Tour with Pennywise, Body Count with Ice-T, Public Enemy. Hey, good morning. Public Enemy, I don't know, a bunch of bands, Circle Jerks. I think, all these people are on the band, on the tour. And we're walking around each day, like me and Jim were totally getting depressed about playing. So we're like, man, maybe we should go back to school. We were kind of, I'm thinking about having a family. We're every day we'd just find each other and sit down somewhere on a curb and have a beer and drink and talk. And this one day in Bologna, we're talking about it, and I pretty much had made up my mind. And so had he, to quit. So I leave from him, so he's like, yeah, I gotta go get ready to play. I'm like, yeah, I probably should get ready too. And I bump into Joe Strummer on the way back. And at the time he was playing with the Mescaleros. And I was like, Joe, man, I gotta say, I respect you so much for inspiring me to do what I've done up to this point, but I don't think I could keep going. It's like, yeah, what do you mean? I was like, I think I'm done after this. I think I'm probably going to go back to school, finish my marine biology degree, and move on. He's like, get the fuck in the bus. And he grabs me by the scruff. And I'm a good 2 feet taller than Joe Strummer, But it's Joe Strummer, so I'm like, okay, all right. He throws me in the bus, and he starts screaming at me about, you don't understand. You brought this old style ska back. Before you did it, nobody was fucking doing it. And now you're doing it. Look at you. You're playing in Bologna. You have thousands of people waiting to see you. This is what you do now. This is who you are. And he's yelling at me. And then suddenly the bus door swings open. In walk Body Count, who are like these fucking mountain of men. I don't know. It might have been 3, but it seemed like 20 came in the door. And Ice-T and Flava Flav, and all these people come in like, yo, what's going on, man? And Fletcher as well comes in, and everybody's pouring drinks, like, what's going on? Joe's like, this motherfucker, and I'm sitting there on the couch, this motherfucker is talking about quitting music, and I'm telling him that it's his fucking responsibility to keep going for all the people who've come and bought his shit, and, he just was going off at me. And then fucking Ice-T turns around and he starts yelling at me. And fucking the Body Count guys are like getting all intimidating. Like, you're gonna fucking beat me up for wanting to quit? And Flava Flav's like, yeah, man, what the fuck you thinking? This is what you do. And I was like, okay, this is so surreal. I know what I'm gonna do now. I'm good. This is like a weird dream that no one ever even imagines having, that I just had in real life, that I have to go process because I have to play. I have to take this on stage. Thank you all. I'm not quitting. And that was the thing. And the reason I said at the beginning, it's like all these ties that bind. This is the first time I've seen Jim since that night. We've crisscrossed, because we play kind of in different things. It was the first time I've seen him, and I bumped into him. I was like, oh, that's because we were playing on different nights. I'd forgotten that they were even on it. Because I just kept looking at our roster,
right,
and bump into him and at the life training, the life jacket training thing.
The muster,
yes.
Muster drill.
Was that what it's called? Yeah, I'm standing down there, and this big hand's like, hey, what are you trying to hide for? Because I was looking at my phone, and I was like, oh shit, Fletcher. And then Jim walks up, and then Byron, like, yeah, you should come up and sing with us when we play. And I'm like, hold on, what are you guys doing here? Like, we're playing it too. And then I looked at Jim, I was like, Bologna. He's like, yeah, man, I've thought about it every day since. And that's that whole, this tour, this boat cruise, when you say what it's like, what I didn't say about that, it's like all those tours, Warped Tour, Lollapalooza, but on water. And what's beautiful I find in this here is all of us, we can't just go walking around those festival grounds because you'll get mobbed, because people don't have access to you the entire time. There's a line between you and them. Here, there's no line between anybody, so everybody gets really comfortable socially. It never gets awkward. Nobody's pulling you, and there's no ripping of shirts. There's no lipstick that you have to explain later. There's none of that. It's just like, hey, how's it going? Good morning. Yeah, you having breakfast? I'll have breakfast too. Great show last night. Hey, thanks. I like the way you dance. Oh, hey, thanks. It's all normal. Yeah. So what Flogging has done in putting this together is they've done a great service, not just to the bands giving us this wonderful environment, but also to the fans and non-fans. There's a bunch of people on this boat that have nothing to do with this, believe it or not, with kids. And everybody is enjoying equally. Shit, I had the boat's captain and his first mate or whatever make a point of coming over and telling me man, we caught your show. You guys are awesome. We were driving, of course, or no, we were up in the deck, of course, but we were watching the show on the screen. Magnificent. I'm like, pretty cool.
Captain's approval.
Yeah. Good old Captain Stooping comes down. So yeah, that's my big, long story about Joe Strummer, Jim, Pennywise, Public Enemy, Yeah, it's a pretty cool world.
Hands down, that's about the best story I think I've heard.
And ever after that, Joe became something of a mentor. He was always kind of pushing me, and you know, it's more than sad that we lost an icon like Joe. It's more than, you know, there's for me, there's so much more involved, because without his intervention, you know, I'd be
a marine biologist,
which is great, which is fine, but I mean, to have somebody convincingly persuade you to go back on a course that you were kind of trying to wander off of is a big thing. Yeah, so I'm pretty stoked for that time of my life. I'm sad for his passing, but happy for the time that he gave me. Him and Paul Simon, good guys.
Yeah.
All right, I think we can wrap it up. I could talk to you probably for hours and hours, but it's vacation. We need to hang out a little bit.
It's you know, when I get to about this halfway point, I'm gonna have another beer.
Yeah.
Or a beer. It's morning. It is morning.
It's afternoon somewhere.
Yeah, it's Bloody Mary time.
For those who have enjoyed listening to this interview, and you're like, wow, I really want to go check out Hepcat. I do know that in June they're going to be at the Supernova 2020 Festival. One of my favorite festivals, very, very fan-friendly. All the money goes to the people putting on the show. It's not corporate. Mm-hmm. Come and check them out there if you have not had the chance to see them anywhere else.
I think everybody listening to this probably already has a ticket.
I hope so.
I think they do, because it's going really well, and the anticipation is really high from both within and without of production, and you know, people coming. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I love the idea of the venue too.
Oh yeah. So that'll do it. This is Timo from EAV Radio. Thanking you again, Greg, for taking the time to sit down with us. This was amazing. It was great.
It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure.
It truly was, Greg. Thanks again, Dan from Radio Free Pensacola. We'll be airing this soon.